MS patients have trouble with balance. That's one of the very early symptoms, is a balance problem. And that actually goes on to cause us some structural problems. Histamine 2 is the major talker between the brain and the ear. In fact, you know, clear back in 1950s, they knew, and it was listed in the U.S. Dispensatory and Physicians Pharmacology as histamine diphosphate, which is the form of histamine 2 we use, as a cure for Meniere's disease. Do you think anybody's telling anybody that? Meniere's disease is that horrible vertigo that people get. And I've had people take the Procarin for Meniere's disease and cured of it. And when I say cure, my definition of a cure is you take something, it gets rid of the symptoms, you stop taking it, and the symptoms don't come back. And that's exactly what these people with Meniere's did. Well, we knew that, but it got buried. The histamine 2 is the major talker between the brain and the ear. And what happens in an MS patient, before we even realize it's happening, I mean, I went into the doctor and I was complaining about numbness and tingling and fatigue and stuff. I didn't realize I had a balance problem. You know, I mean, I was tripping every once in a while, but that was my toe catching or something. You know, I didn't realize I had, you know, if I turned fast, I kind of get off, but yeah, no big deal. I just didn't turn fast. And one of the things the doctors tell an MS patient to do is stand up, put your feet together, put your arms to your side, and stand there. They say, now close your eyes. And you go, whoa, you just almost fall over, right? Well, what happens is, she's like, what the heck happened? And normally, the ear is supposed to tell the brain what position we are. Are we lying down, sitting? Are we standing at a tilt? Because you've got that fluid level in the ear, just like the bubble on a level. And it tells the brain what position you're in. Well, that's not working. Histamine 2 is supposed to be the relays going back and forth. And so the brain says, hey, I need input, I need it now. So the brain turns to the eyes and says, eyes, the ear is all screwed up. It doesn't know what it's telling me. I'm going to talk to you. And so our eyes tell us what position we are in the environment, right? Well, the minute you take an MS patient who's now using that compensatory mechanism and you shut their eyes, the brain's saying, woohoo, where are we? Are we lying, sitting, whatever? And this is why MS patients have such a balance problem. Now, interestingly, before we even realize that, our body tries to compensate. That's why MS patients have what we call a typical scissor gait, where they have a tendency to, it just amazes me. Why, if we have a balance problem, why don't we think to widen our feet and shuffle more like a Parkinson's person? You know, widen it. We don't. We want a scissor gait. We want to almost put our one foot in front of the other and trip ourselves. And because we have that problem, and we're aware of that problem, we're a little tipsy, we take our affected leg, such as when it was my left leg was the affected leg, take it and we turn it out a little bit. We don't even realize we're doing that, but we turn that foot out a little bit. And that makes it so it's harder to put that foot in front of the other as we're walking. It makes it harder for us to trip ourselves up. And it also gives us a little bit of a wider base to work with, right? A little bit more stability. The problem is, as the disease progresses and we have more of that problem, we really turn that leg, the affected leg, out. That then causes MS patients, their pelvis to twist a little bit, and it gets twisted a little bit, and it causes them to hyperextend their knee. Now you got structural problems. And so you really want to try and catch it before you have that, because then you've got to change all those structural problems, and it's a little bit harder. But a lot of MS, patients have always wondered, why do I tip and this and that?
You're figuring how many, realistically, do you think cases of MS are in the United States?
It's far, far greater than the 400,000 that the MS Society is trying to say.
So it's starting to look like there's a tie between the MS Society and the drug companies. And you smile, but what has been your experience with NMSS, National MS Society? Have you visited their office? Do you know? What do you know about them?
Yeah, I went back there twice. I was back there in April 2000 and again in April 2002.
Where's their headquarters?
They're in New York, Manhattan, New York City, New York. Amazingly, they have the entire 6th floor and half of the 7th floor of this high-rise. And when we went and met with them both times, the first time in 2000 was at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And Nancy Holland led us through, my husband and I, through a maze of cubicles throughout the 6th floor. And when we walked in, there was a lady, at the desk reception desk. I think she was reading a magazine at that time. The next time, somebody was doing their nails. But anyway, in 2000, I saw that lady, and we walked through this whole maze of these cubicles, all computers set up and everything, but nobody in them. Nobody there. We saw 3 other people. 2 people talking in a cubicle, another one doing something. And so we go back, we go into this large, conference room. And Nancy goes to get Dr. LaRocca and brings him in, and they introduce themselves, and we sit down, and they apologize that we weren't able to meet within the rest of the research group. But the rest of the research group was down in a hotel in downtown Manhattan for a week, looking at research proposals, 35 research proposals that came in because the MS Society funds these research things and decides who they're going to fund. And so my husband says, well, I understand you have the entire 6th floor and half of the 7th floor of this high-rise. Why do you have to put these people up in a motel room, in a hotel for a week to look at these proposals? And they said, well, yes, obviously, we do have that, but there's 35 grant proposals, and each of the 14 people have to get together and talk, and discuss each proposal at a time. So you just see my husband and my eyes just counting the chairs around this conference room. And Nancy Holland says, well, yes, obviously we have enough a conference room to accommodate 14 people, but there's a lot of paper. Now, I don't know. In my opinion, not a good use of funds. And these treatments are failing. They're not making a difference in the effects of the disease. It's the disease we're living with. It's the symptoms we're living with. I could care less about the lesions. For instance, I've had people ask me, if your immune system, if you're taking this Procarin and has you symptom-free, aren't you worried about the lesions? They use these, they've got us all scared to death of these lesions.
And these are lesions on the brain.
On the brain,
small...
Right. Little white spots that are showing up on those T2 weighted scans.
Okay.
This is my thought. If I can live symptom-free right up until the day I die, a great quality of life, and when I die, they do an autopsy, and they see my brain lit up with lesions, who cares? I lived a great quality life because I was able to control my symptoms. Yeah. Or I can take one of these drugs that supposedly decreases the lesions but does nothing for the symptoms. So the last 10 years of my life, I'm spent stuck in a bedridden because of my symptoms. That's what I'm having to deal with. And when I die, they do an autopsy and they say, ooh, she only has 2 little lesions. Good thing she was on those drugs. I don't think so. I'm going for quality of life. The MS Society says 5% of the MS population does not have lesions. The Rotterdam Scan Study, when they looked at 1,077 people to see how many people, what effects aging had on them, they found 95% of the general population had these lesions. Do you see you're saying the same thing, but doing a little spin? Same numbers, but spun a little bit different.
Spin. It's exactly what it is.
The saying, the definition of insanity is continuing to do the same thing but expecting a different outcome. Mm-hmm. I like to change a little bit different in this regards. The definition is stupidity. Because, insanity, okay, you got a little bit of an excuse to continue to do the same thing because, you're missing a little bit. But definition, in my opinion, stupidity is continuing to do the same thing and expecting a different outcome. So they've spent $380 million at trying to suppress the immune system. It has failed. Those drugs are failing. They'll tell you they failed treatments. So now, okay, well, let's double them up. Let's make them even stronger. At what point do you say, maybe we're going the wrong way?
Why aren't they? Why do they continue to be focused on MS being an autoimmune disease and not even looking beyond that? Do you have any...
Money.
Yeah?